What's the one moment in combat that proved your training was completely wrong? I was a specialist in an infantry unit, spent 18 months training for urban combat, room clearing, building entries, the whole package. Our instructors drilled one thing into our heads: speed and violence of action. Hit hard, hit fast, overwhelm the enemy before they can react. Thousands of repetitions until it was pure muscle memory. My fire team leader was Staff Sergeant Brendan Holloway, 10-year veteran, by-the-book soldier. If the manual said do it one way, that's exactly how Brendan did it. We got orders to clear a compound where insurgents were supposedly holding hostages. Intelligence said 3 fighters, maybe 4. Standard operation. Brendan briefed us using the exact tactics from training. We breach fast, flood the room, dominate the space. Trevor, your point. Wade, you're behind him. I'll be third. Curtis covers our exit. Trevor was our best door kicker. Big guy from Texas, played college football, could hit an entry like a freight train. We stacked up outside the target building. Old mud brick structure, typical Afghan construction. One door, small windows, flat roof. Brendan gave the signal. Trevor kicked the door. We flooded in exactly like training. Speed and violence of action. Except the room wasn't what we expected. It was packed with people. 20, maybe 30 civilians, women, children, elderly men, all huddled together in the center. And standing among them, 5 insurgents with weapons. Not 3 or 4 like intelligence said. 5 confirmed fighters scattered throughout the crowd. We'd trained for empty rooms or rooms with clear enemies. Never for this. Never for targets mixed into a crowd of innocents. The insurgents started yelling. Civilians started screaming. Our aggressive entry had created pure chaos. Everyone moving, everyone panicking. Training said maintain control through force. Brendan started shouting commands in English. Didn't help. Nobody understood. The chaos got worse. One insurgent raised his rifle. Wade almost fired but stopped. Too many civilians in the line. Another fighter moved toward a side door. Our aggressive posture was making everything worse. The civilians thought we were going to shoot everyone. The insurgents were using the panic as cover. Then something unexpected happened. Curtis, our youngest guy, did the exact opposite of training. He lowered his rifle completely, pointed it at the ground. Sergeant, permission to try something? He called out. Negative. Maintain your weapon. Brendan snapped, but Curtis had already started. He held up both hands, showing they were empty. Took 2 steps backward toward the door, made himself smaller, less threatening, started speaking in calm, quiet tones. Not even real words, just soothing sounds. The room slowly got quieter. Civilians stopped screaming, started paying attention to this American soldier who wasn't acting aggressive. Curtis kept backing up, gesturing for the civilians to move toward him, away from the armed men. One of the insurgents yelled something in Pashto, tried to grab a woman to use as a shield, but she pulled away, moving toward Curtis instead. Others followed. Slowly, carefully, civilians started separating from the fighters, moving to the American who'd lowered his weapon. Brendan realized what was happening, signaled for the rest of us to lower our rifles slightly, adopt less aggressive stances. As the civilians cleared out, the insurgents lost their cover. They were exposed, separated, vulnerable. One tried to run, Wade tackled him. 2 others surrendered immediately when they saw they were outnumbered. The last 2 bolted for the back door, got caught by our support team waiting outside. 0 shots fired, 0 civilian casualties, 5 enemy captured. Perfect operation. Except we'd done it completely backwards from training. After action review was uncomfortable. Brendan had to explain why we deviated from doctrine, why Curtis had lowered his weapon in a hostile environment. Our captain listened to the whole story, looked at the after-action footage from our helmet cams. Holloway, you're saying Curtis ignored your direct order? Yes, sir, but his actions resulted in mission success with 0 friendly or civilian casualties. The captain turned to Curtis. Specialist, where'd you learn that de-escalation technique? Curtis shrugged. Worked at a psychiatric hospital before I enlisted, sir. Dealing with violent patients. Aggression always made things worse. Calm and distance worked better. The captain nodded slowly. So your civilian job taught you something our military training missed? I guess so, sir. We spent the next month incorporating Curtis's techniques into our standard operating procedures. Training cadre from the States flew out to document what we'd done. Turned out lots of units were having the same problem. Traditional room clearing worked great for empty buildings or clear enemies, failed completely in civilian-heavy environments. Curtis got promoted ahead of schedule, started teaching classes on adaptive tactics. His psychiatric hospital experience became more valuable than any combat manual. Brendan admitted later that was his biggest lesson from deployment. The manual gives you a starting point, but the real world doesn't always match the training range. That compound taught all of us something crucial. Sometimes the opposite of your training is exactly what the situation needs. Speed and violence of action works until it doesn't. Then you need patience and de-escalation instead.